Alright, what is going on, my dudes? We are back here today with another CCP Content Creator Program video. This one is going to be on the new champion, Tigra, or it might be Tigra. I'm not 100% sure how we're going to pronounce that. Personally, I've always said Tigra reading comics growing up and throughout my life. So Tigra is a pretty cool champion, man. You know, I've had her for a couple days, but I unfortunately didn't have the chance to play around with her too much, but I feel like I have a general idea of how you want to play her. So basically, Tigra has like the potential to be like a very high skill required champion to play, but she's also pretty decent if you don't want to play her in that playstyle as well. One thing about her playstyle is that I find that most of the time it's not entirely like the safest way to go about it or even worth it. I feel like there are usually better options, but she has some pretty cool utility, all right? Now, as you can tell from the title of the video, right, and the thumbnail, well, we're obviously going to be showing her against the Collector in Act 5.2, and we're going to be completely evading both of his special attacks, which normally are pretty almost impossible to evade unless you are Metal Sonic Dude. All right, so before we get into those videos, all right, we're gonna talk about just really quickly her abilities and like what she does. So the main thing that Tigra does here is that if you're holding the heavy attack, you can hold it indefinitely just like Quake can, and any projectile in a special attack you can completely avoid, all right? It's going to miss, and you can hold down the heavy attack for as long as the special attack lasts. So basically what you want to be doing is you want to be hitting the opponent with heavy attacks. You want to ideally just throw heavy attacks and not even block. Don't parry. It's a very tough play style to manage, and it's really not the most practical way to play, but if you can pull it off, dude, that is super awesome. Of course, there's, you know, nothing too wrong with parry heavy as well, but that's not always practical in endgame content because her block efficiency isn't the highest. So basically what you want to do is cycle between heavy attacks and a huge special too. So another quick thing about Tiger is that she is a mystic champion, so of course she does have a way to do away with buffs. Now, while she can't directly nullify any buffs, she does have this thing on her attacks called neutralize, okay? Now, when the opponent is neutralized, okay, it's going to have a minus 100% chance to activate any buffs, but that's not what this particular video is about, all right? We're going to be focusing on the heavy attack in this one. Now, one thing that is unfortunate about Tiger here is that she does kind of rely on a high sig if you want to play her like efficiently, because if you don't have the high sig, you're going to have to toss off the special 3 to gain the primal sense and the huntress sense for 14 seconds. All right, now there are already a lot of videos out there on YouTube going over her abilities and how to play her, so let's just jump into some content. All right, so first up, we are going up against the Collector in Act 5.2. All right, now obviously, you know, his special 1 and his special 2 are very tough to evade, all right? In fact, I'm not even entirely sure if you can evade the special 1. The special 2 you can, but it's pretty difficult, all right? So here, we're just gonna wait for him to toss off the special 1, and look at that, man. The entire thing is just going to miss. But here is the drawback that I find with Tigra more often than not when we go for that utility, all right? Now, I'm going to show you the same thing, but this time against the Collector Special 2, and, well, the same thing's going to happen. So take a look here, all right? We're going to bait out that Special 2, we're going to miss the entire thing, and then we're going to take a combo to the face, man. So, but let's talk about that. We're going to go in slow motion here, and look at this. Right here, it really looks like that heavy attack should connect, and I really just don't understand why it doesn't. And the same thing for the special 1, all right? So here, with special attacks where they are far away, we have to wait for them to dash in. I do that, and then I throw it off there, and it really looks like I connect again. Now, I notice this problem happens a lot across the board when I'm using Tigra against champions where you're going to want to use this utility. A great example here is Darkhawk, all right? I did get hit by the heavy there, just ignore that. I'm just pushing him up to a special 1. This is just the Darkhawk in the Abyss, so the first fight in the Abyss, and let's bait out this special 1. We're as close as we possibly can be, and he just interrupts our heavy attack there. We're going to do it again, and this time we're going to toss it off a little bit sooner, and he dashed back and we got out of it. But it's just kind of unreliable. I find it really unreliable, as cool as it is. However, there is one champion, a really tough champion here, a decently tough defender nowadays, right? His special 2 is against Annihilus. His special 2 is pretty difficult to evade, and I find Tigra is very good against Annihilus, especially when you have him in his own corner, alright? So I want to push him back here. I'm using my special 1 to bring him up to his special 2, and we're going to immediately go to a heavy, and look at this, man. We are gaining power because we are missing that entire beam, and then we're dashing back, and we're going to toss off a big unblockable special 2, alright? So against certain champions, it definitely does work, and it definitely does have its uses, but unfortunately, man, I just feel like more often than not, it's too risky, and there are usually better options. So while Tigra is super cool and that miss utility is pretty dope, you know, she does have some high damage potential, but usually, man, you do have to play pretty risky to get there, alright? And like I said, there are already a bunch of videos out on YouTube that go over exactly how you want to play her and all of her abilities in depth, so I will just scroll through here so you can take a look and you can pause the video if you want to, but I'm not going to sit here and just read through it all today, just because, well, first of all, I'm a little busy right now and I haven't had too much time to play around with her, so I'm not exactly a Tigra expert. I just have like a general idea of how to play her, and I wanted to show you guys that utility with the heavy attack, alright? She also does have some cool synergies here. West Coast Avenger synergy is really cool with the Hawkeye and War Machine champions. Feline Possession, very cool name there. We have Entree as well. This one makes Howard the Duck very good. Alright, check out my buddy Sweeta. He has a really dope Labyrinth of Legends takedown with Howard the Duck with this synergy. And we also have Big Game Hunters with Elsa, and then some romance with Luke Cage, Iron Man, and Moon Knight. Alright, my dudes. That's going to be it from this on Tigra, man. Unfortunately, I didn't have too much time to play around with her, but I am very excited to mess around with Hitmonkey. I have some ideas for Hitmonkey. I think he's going to be a very cool champion, and I do like Tigra overall. I do think she's a very cool champ. However, more often than not, I feel like the best bit of her utility with that heavy attack often gets punished, alright? She has a very high skill cap to pay, but when it pays off very nicely. I think she's a very cool champ and has some really smooth and fun animations and some really nice damage output. So my dudes, if you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor and leave a like. Comment what you think about Tigra in the comment section below, and subscribe if you want to see some more content coming to you very soon. See you around. Alright, so I did actually have one Winter Soldier fight to show you guys, just to go over what I was talking about fighting pretty much without ever parrying. But as you can see, man, even against like Winter Soldier here, it is just such a risky playstyle. Like the thought of interrupting dash attacks with a heavy attack, it's just not like the most pleasing thing to think of. Now, one thing about Winter Soldier special attacks, like his special 1 and even his special 2, is that he has a bit of recovery time after those special attacks, so it's pretty safe to use Tigra's heavy attack utility against Winter Soldier. And one thing that's going to come in time while using Tigra is just realizing what champions you can use this utility for and what champions you can't, alright? So as you can see here, right there is a time when I was able to interrupt his dash with the heavy attack, but like for the most part, it just doesn't work out the way you want it to go. There I did a pretty bad job dexing that special 1, huh? But yeah, as you can see, this is usually how it ends up going when you try to play risky like that, and that's like just not a playstyle that you want to do in content like Alliance War or Alliance Quest, when it could potentially cost you some revives or some potions. You especially don't want to do it in Alliance War when you're going to be taking deaths and losing points. And in Alliance Quest, it's just not going to be fun to be losing, you know, potential items by trying to play risky like that when there are other champions that can pretty much do the same thing a lot easier. So while it is really cool and I do enjoy playing with Tigra, and I think her animations are very fluid and cool, I think that we kind of have to go back to the drawing board a little bit when it comes to this this heavy miss mechanic here, and I think we have to find a way to make it so we don't eat a combo to the face after we finish the special attack. I think maybe adding a synergy that gives her a passive unstoppable after missing those projectiles, that could potentially help this. That would still eat a decent amount of damage though in endgame content, so I don't know, man, but I feel like as of right now, it needs a little something for it to be actually useful in real content. Alright my dudes, this is actually the end of the video. I do hope you enjoyed it. I'll be seeing you around.